Hi everyone, welcome to Dusty Shelf Collectibles. Well, hopefully a bit of an interesting one today. So I was down on the south coast, popped into a model shop and saw this on the shelf. And to me, this is a rarity. I've never seen one. Now, having had a quick look on eBay and a couple of the other sites, they don't come up for sale. They're just, they're very few and far between. They were released, as far as I'm aware, in 84, 85. They ran for 2 years in the catalogue. I don't actually have those two catalogues, so I can't actually see it in there. But it kind of posed a question with me. I like to think of myself as a sort of seasoned Hornby collector, and as such, if I'm not aware of a train or haven't seen one before, does that make it a collector's item? I mean, to me, this is of interest because it's something I haven't seen before, but having paid £30 for it, I'm questioning, well, okay, is this really a rarity? Because it's, it's a standard loco. It just happens to have the Ford logo on there. It's in the correct box, but have I overpaid at £30 for this? Because it is just, it's one of the toy plastic trains, or is this genuinely, something collectible? The fact that it's got some rarity behind it, and these things are worth collecting and worth preserving. So anyway, I just thought I'd sort of open a discussion on that. Take this over to the bench, have a look around it. It's quite interesting. It's got price on the box and things, and then we'll give it a run around the track, and hopefully it'll prompt a discussion, and you can all message in and tell me what you think. Well, let me deal first with the subject of rarity. So this loco, I mean, certainly in its moulded form, is probably the most common loco that Hornby's produced. It's the lowest cost one. I think in researching this, there's been over 20 different liveries on this loco, and it's been produced since 1977, so thousands upon thousands of these have been made. But I have never seen one with the Ford badge on the side of it. So my measure of rarity, I've had two things I measure it by. One, have I ever seen it before? Because I like to think that, I'm a bit of a seasoned collector. And secondly, I go and have a look on eBay and see if any of these have been sold, see if any of these are for sale, see what kind of prices they are. This one, there's none for sale, and there hasn't been any for sale or sold in the last sort of 90 days, which makes me think that, maybe this is a little bit rarer than some of the others. But do let me know your thoughts. I don't know, because as I say, this has been in the catalogue for 2 years. I think I mentioned that in the introduction. It was only in the catalogue for 2 years. That was nearly 40 years ago. And these just don't seem to be all over the place. Now, I picked this up at a model shop down in on the way to Canterbury, and I paid £30 for it. And the main reason I paid £30 is because it was in the box, and the box is the original one for this Ford loco. And as I say, if I think it's rare and it's in a box, I was quite pleased to pick that up. And on the end of the box here, we've got £7.99. We've got the R163 Ford 040 loco, and it says here not suitable for the 01. So I'm sure everybody's aware, but 01 was Hornby's first sort of step into the world of digital. Back in the 80s, you put a chip in the train, and then you could control more than one train on a track. I do actually have a 01, and I do actually have the Airfix equivalent that I'm planning next year, that I'd like to just build a test track with those and have a little play with them and create some videos around those, but that's to come next year. Anyway, let's get this out of the box and let's have a look at what we've got in here. So please remove this card for display. Right, so the first thing to say is the pictures that I have found on the internet, every single one of them have this sort of brown tinge to it, which is where I think it's where the release agent is reacting with the plastics, release agent from the tool, and over time, the plastics are sort of going off, if you like. Now, I have read that you can use different chemicals on this to try and get rid of these sort of yellow tinges, but I've also read that it makes the plastic even more brittle. So I've taken the decision with this one to leave as is, not to mess around with it, and I'll just leave this one as it is, and not try and improve this embellishment that's all over it. So there's not really much to say about the loco. I mean, it's about as plastic as you can get. There's not a lot of detail on there. Got some moulded in features inside the cab. It is your typical base model 040 loco. It's only the fact that it's got this 4 badge on there that makes me think that this one might be a little bit rarer than some of the others. Anyway, let's take it over to the track and I'll get some detailed pictures and tell you a little about the history of the loco. The Hornby 040 Holden tank was first introduced in 1977, and believe it or not, Hornby have managed to produce over 20 different versions in different liveries. This Ford liveried version obviously being one of them. This livery was only in the range for 2 years, 1984 and 1985. The Holden tank locomotive was based on a design for the Great Western Railway by James Holden. It was built in 1902 and it was an experimental design using oil as fuel, with the oil coming from a byproduct of the oil gas that was used for carriage lighting. The experiment was unsuccessful and the loco was subsequently converted to coal-fired in 1905. The loco was built at Swindon and spent its entire life there and finally been withdrawn from service in 1911. So why did such an obscure locomotive become a staple of the Hornby range? Well, it's quite simple. Richard Lyons of Lyon Brothers was looking through candidates for an 040 for the Hornby starter sets. He chose the Holden tank as it had the required 040 configuration and, to quote, seemed a nice subject with a Great Western-esque look, and also had the copper chimney top. Well, this is never meant to be a particularly long video because, to be quite frank, there's not a lot to look at on the loco. Not the most detailed thing, and indeed, you know, obviously bottom rung entry-level loco. But it was just to explore, when does an item become collectible? So I pose that question again. As I said, my two measurables are, have I ever seen it before? And have a quick look on eBay. If none of them are for sale, that's obviously a good indicator that it's not the most common thing to be bought and sold at the moment. But I'd really be interested to hear, you know, your thoughts on when does a loco become collectible, and indeed these cheap mass-produced locos, are they ever considered collectible? So I'll leave that thought there, and I'll be really interested if you want to message me, let me know your thoughts. I'll be interested to hear. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Do please have a look at the channel. There's lots of videos on there, all kinds of subjects, days out and model railways, all kinds of things that interest me. And yeah, if you can subscribe, you'll be doing me a massive favour. And with that, we'll leave this one there. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.